Hey guys, it's Sunday. Thank you for doing this. I thought it would be a cool idea to just record an episode with actual people doing the app. I thought we could maybe talk about some cool stuff because it's crunch time. So we're going to get into it, and I didn't really prepare too much. I figured we'd have a lot to talk about, but first things first, let's just get a quick rundown of everybody. I want to know your name, where are you from, most importantly, are you going elk hunting this year? If so, where? And we'll just kind of move on from there. So let's start with Jared.
All right. My name's Jared Neiman, 39. I live in Burleson, Texas. We're a suburb just south of Fort Worth, if anybody knows where Fort Worth is. Yes, we'll be going elk hunting, doing OTC in Colorado. And then I actually drew a cow elk tag, second rifle, I believe, in October in Wyoming.
Austin.
Yeah, I'm Austin Westminster, 40 years old, down in Tucson, Arizona. We'll be throwing my hat in the ring for the over-the-counter Colorado tag this fall. And
John
Elliott, 38. I live in Rochester, New York. I might be the only East Coaster maybe right now. Primarily a whitetail hunter. This year I'm not elk hunting. I've never elk hunted. Next year is my year. My daughter's going into kindergarten this year in September. I don't think I'm going to get away with skipping out around that time. But yeah, hoping for next year. Hopefully Colorado. I have a brother-in-law there who's willing to kind of show me around. So.
Sweet. Derek.
I'm Derek Hillam. I'm from Price, Utah. I'm 23. I've got 2 deer tags, and I'm just going to do over-the-counter here in Utah for elk. So
Perfect. Logan.
Yeah, my name is Logan. I'm from Michigan, 33 years old, and I'm going OTC Colorado with my brother. So
Awesome, guys. Thanks for sharing. So most of us are just a bunch of old middle-aged men. Then we got young, spry Derek out of Utah. Mad respect. He's already recovered from the workout he did today. Is everybody elk virgins? Has anyone ever killed an elk with a bow?
Sadly, no.
Okay, cool. I like that because that means that your chances of popping your cherry in 24 are high. Everybody except for John out of New York. But John, I vividly remember putting my daughter on her first kindergarten bus. I don't know how it worked out. My wife had to work. I was the guy to do it. And I cried like a baby when that bus drove away. So I totally get it, man. And I respect that. Well, let's get into it, guys. Welcome to the pod. We are hanging out with all members of the ElkShape Training Program. I reached out to them on our private message community board and I said, hey, I need a few of you to come on here and just kind of tell me what's going on. I'm actually looking for feedback, quite honestly, because I know nothing. I just write the workouts out and do them. Trust that you guys are understanding the lingo and putting the work in and not getting hurt, but getting healthier and moving towards the direction that we're looking for. So we're going to start with the round table. Jared, you're going to over-the-counter Colorado. You've never killed an elk with a bow. You live in Texas out of the Fort Worth, Dallas area. I'm pretty sure that's not 10,000 feet, right? So I wanted to talk about altitude, acclimation. Do you have any experience at altitude? If not, what were you planning to do to be fully prepared to tackle the mountains and the high country?
So, yeah, we're at maybe 1,200 feet here, right? It's a little walk downhill, right, to get to the ocean. This will be my 3rd season in Colorado. 2 seasons before, so what would that be? 22 and 23. Elevation, man, it kicked my ass. I'm not going to lie to you. Getting up there, and it wasn't anything physical really that got me. It was just the breathing that got me. And I know last year, so I went by myself in 22 and just literally was I'd been listening to you, Dan. I was I'm just going to get out here and go for it. I was 37 at the time. Screw it. I'm just going. But, I'm not getting any younger. Went out there, did it, tagged soup, saw a couple elk, but it wasn't ever really anything I could put a stalk on. So 23 actually drug my wife out there with me. And she works her ass off. I work my ass off. So it wasn't a physical fitness thing. It was just the oxygen, right? And it really, it kicked my ass. It kicked her ass too. I know we were actually in a meadow going up into an opening and we had to get across that opening. And I was like, all right, let's go. Let's get through this opening. And we, damn near walked as fast as we could. And at the end of that thing, we were both just what's going on with this air up here? Like, oh my God. This year, I don't know. I was thinking like either rebreather masks, obviously taking some type of supplement to help with oxygen saturation and stuff like that. I don't know, whatever you would recommend on that to help. So
yeah, we'll circle back. Let's go through everyone's answers. Joel, you'll catch up here in a second. Austin, same question to you.
Yeah, I'm just going to be getting physically fit, one, so I can keep up with a couple of young bucks that I'm going with. And then I know that the altitude's a problem. I mean, hunting in Wyoming, growing up, we got into some high elevations there, but it's been a while since I've been there, so it'll just be an acclimation period. And if I pick up anything on the way, it'll be thumbs up.
John?
So obviously not at high elevation right now. Used to live in Utah, actually, and worked south of Price down in the Mantis doing wilderness therapy. And I was also a mountain bike guide in Moab. And so I primarily spent, not October, but like May through October between 9,000 and 12,000 feet for most of the year. And wilderness therapy, you're up there the minimum 8 days at a time. Felt pretty good at that with my fitness level. I'm sure I'm going to have to reacclimate when I do get out to Colorado and start hunting. So hoping to give myself a couple days probably ahead of time, just to make sure I'm getting hydrated, make sure I'm getting acclimated, and then go from there. Take it slow, ease into it, and make sure my fitness and endurance is up.
Wow, that's awesome. Derek?
Yeah, I mean, being in Utah, I'm close to a lot of the mountains, so that kind of helps big time. But just in like this last season, my buddy had a limited entry elk tag in the late season, and I remember climbing this mountain, and it wrecked me. Like calves were burning, everything. And I'm younger too, so I was like I just want to get as big as possible bodybuilding workout phase, and then started listening more of your podcasts, finally got on the program. And like 4 months later went shed hunting with one of my really good buddies who doesn't work out or anything and can just haul ass on the mountain and kick my butt. But I was keeping up with him just fine. And so doing that, I live right next to American Fork Canyon now. So I do a bunch of the rucking up into that canyon, and that I think is going to give me hopefully an advantage. So
Awesome. Logan?
Yeah, so I primarily am training with my brother, who was born in Michigan, but was raised from the time he was 5 until 20 in Colorado. And I spent a lot of time out there as a kid. My grandparents live out in Montana. And so I'm familiar with the altitude and how taxing it is. So I think having that awareness of, like, it can be like a punch in the mouth. I think a lot of people that have never experienced that before don't realize how devastating that is. And it's a factor that I think a lot of the time goes under the radar. It's not seriously considered. And so having the mental preparedness to know what that feels like and how it affects your body, I think is a big step up. And then we're also talking about incorporating mass training. I think that is a good way to get your lungs acclimated to doing heavy load exercise under strain. I think seems to work. Acclimation is definitely a big thing. So if you can get out there a little bit earlier and get adjusted to it, I think that's definitely super helpful. So those are kind of the steps that we plan on implementing to account for that.
Okay. And we'll have Joel, go ahead and unmute and give us your age, where you're from, and where you're elk hunting. And then I think you probably know the follow-up question is the altitude thing.
44, Texas, Flatlander Army. I am hunting in Montana this year. Previously, I've hunted in Utah for the last 5 years. And my altitude is about 20 feet currently. The last 5 years, like the first year, I got altitude sickness so bad at maybe 7,000, 8,000 feet that I thought on day 2 or 3 that I was going to have to come off the mountain. And I just went to bed sick one night on night 2, woke up the next morning and was like ready to roll. And progressively over the last 5 years, just with the altitude piece, it's gotten a little incrementally better. I try to like sleep on the way to Utah at elevation, just like give it one night of trying to acclimatize. But I live and train at 20 feet of elevation, so there's just no way around the fact that I'm going to have to deal with some troubles.
But I don't live at elevation. I live at 2,000 feet, and I live in Washington, out west or whatever. I also feel the effects of altitude sickness year over year. And what I've done to mitigate that isn't really a fair program, but a lot of times I'll antelope hunt in August for a week or two, and it's high desert, so 5,000 to 6,000 feet. If I don't do that, which I'm probably not going to this year, I will show up 3 or 4 days before the season starts. Some people can't do that, and I understand. And those 3 or 4 days, I'm mainly sleeping in the valley floor, which is still really high, but I'm spending the days, I'm going and checking cameras that were been soaking for a year. I might be hanging stands. I might just be hiking up to Advantage to Glass mornings, come back down, chill, and then go hike up somewhere to Glass evenings. So I do on purpose do 3 or 4 days, and I have felt the effects of altitude, and I get a very dull headache. I lose my appetite. I usually pop a couple ibuprofens, and I figure out how to go lower, quite honestly. But like Joel said, after a couple days, I kind of all of a sudden feel all right. But altitude advantage from Wilderness Athlete, there's an extract in there. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. That seems to help mitigate. The whole mask conversation is a podcast in itself. I don't know if I'm convinced that really works. It might be worth a try, but you won't see me with one on it. What I'm going to continue to do is this high intensity training. I'm going to do the intervals that we've been doing, and we'll get into the programming a little bit tonight. But it's really interesting to hear everyone's perspective because I think we all agree that altitude does get overlooked. I believe Logan said it was under the radar. Couldn't agree more. So let's talk about the training. Let's just get right into it. Why don't we just pop around real quick? Why don't you, everyone let us know. Obviously, we'll start with Jared again. How long have you been doing the ElkShape Training Program versus what were you doing prior to that? What's your overall vibe? And dude, shoot me straight. You know I'm your honest friend. I like honesty in return. So just let's start with you, Jared. You lead us off to bat.
All right. Prior to ElkShape, I guess, I started ElkShape, I guess, in February. So I've been doing it, 4 months now. Prior to that, it was just, there's a couple of guys in California, I guess, since we're on the ElkShape podcast, I won't mention them, but I followed their program, but it was a lot of, it wasn't as lower body heavy as I would have liked it to be. Obviously hiking in the mountains, right? You're going to need, we're working on the sticks, right? So we've got to get, you got to get some ass on you so you can get up the mountain. It just didn't focus enough on that. It was a lot more upper body, bodybuilding type stuff. Before that, I've been working out since I was 15. So it was always just bro workouts, right? Like I saw my dad, chest, shoulders, arms, right? Like that was it. So that's a lot of what I did before that. So yeah, I got onto this other program, did that for a little bit. And then honestly, Dan, just listen to you and everything you were doing. You're fittest dude I know. So, hopped into that and I've really liked it. I like the periodization. I think when I started and correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but I think in February-ish, it was more strength training. Okay. So definitely. I was accustomed to that already. Right. And then once we, I think it was April, I guess, right. We started hopping into more of the volume training. And I really noticed like in the beginning, man, it was taxing me really hard. Like, rest periods were up. And then I've seen since April, actually I pulled a buddy from high school. He literally texted me on my birthday in February and was like, hey man, happy birthday. Want to start working, I was like, what are you doing? Want to start working out? So I literally pulled his ass into the gym with me and we started doing, he started doing your stuff with me. And it's, both of us can tell though. I asked him just the other day, I said, how are you feeling? He goes, dude, I'm feeling better. I'm able to move better, complete the workouts better and get through it, minimizing rest periods, can tell the engine is starting to pick up, so I do like it. I love the program. I love what it does for elk hunting. The only hiccup for me, I guess, is so I have fusion in my spine from old motocross injury. So overhead squats, no bueno. Can't the back doesn't flex up top, right? So just can't get those. But front squats, I can do front squats, right? So I'll work around it. But other than that, man, It's great. I love it. I no negatives for me.
Dude, that's awesome. And 4 months that's a lot of momentum. You caught some density, some strength, that high volume phase. And we'll chat about this phase that we're wrapping up in June. Cause I want honest feedback, cause you guys are going to help me dictate the next couple months on programming. Believe it or not, I haven't finished it yet. So that's awesome. And then the only reason I overhead squat to this day, I did it yesterday, is so that I can keep overhead squatting. I feel like if I don't do it, one of these days it's not going to happen. And I certainly cannot even touch the weights I used to do, but I'm fighting for that mobility. And I love that you said you could just go to a front squat, because that's just your second best bet as far as the midline and whatnot. Austin, same question for you, dog.
Yeah, I started in January. I got the call on Instagram saying, get off your ass and get going. And so I figured it was time. I've been bouncing around for like the last year, just trying to figure out what worked, and a lot of stuff wasn't working. I wasn't really progressing, wasn't really feeling like it was fitting what I wanted or what I needed, endurance cycling events, elk hunting, chasing coos deer, all that stuff really, I needed something different. And so once I got on board with you in the app, it was a learning step for me just to get into working out, like all the different movements and, what are clings and all that kind of stuff. And I was Googling every night before I went to bed what I'm going to be doing the next day. And so I was ready. So I woke up and I just got after it. I wasn't trying to figure out what was going on. But besides that, it's been great. I mean, I sub out stuff when I need to. I only have a couple dumbbells, the Bowflex dumbbells, so 52 pounds, that's what I get to. I got a beam out back that I hang off of and try and do pull-ups and knee-ups, and I don't know, just trying to do my best and get after it.
So are you following that hustle track?
Yeah.
Okay. We've been struggling trying to make sure that it's a good enough workout. Like, it's always my worry. Like, I send the workouts into Josh. You guys haven't met him. He basically is the glue to the whole thing. And I'm like, hey man, tweak these however you need to, but I'm always worried. Like when we do barbell cardio and the barbell cycling, like in this phase right now, which is hell. If you guys are doing it right and you did the one the other day where it's 6 sets of 3 squat cleans and a press, 3 squat cleans and a push press, 3 squat cleans and then a jerk, then you let the bar down. Josh told me he's doing the hustle track and he said that with the dumbbells was hell on earth. Were you able to do that with dumbbells?
Yeah, I mean, when we got into those, I think I bumped down the weight a little bit because I knew, like, I felt gas. I was 40 pounds the first round, and I was like, I'm going to be destroyed if I keep that up. So I backed it off a little bit, and then I worked my way back up to 40 towards the end. But
Okay.
that's pretty much what I do, and
Perfect.
I think it's good. I mean, it does everything that I need it to. It gives me the baseline. Like I said, I wasn't a workout. I wasn't a gym rat in high school. I played soccer. I was a runner. So all this stuff is new to me, man, and it works.
Okay, cool. John, right at you, buddy.
Yeah, I've been doing the programming since January of 23. So I started probably a few weeks after it began. Prior to that, I had about a 5-year hiatus of no fitness. I built a 2-story addition on my house. My wife was pregnant during that. I had to have it finished by the time she had the baby. We had the baby. 8 months later, COVID hits. 6 months later, another baby pops out, and I'm a therapist, so I sit all day for my job, and I just watched myself deplete. And I was working for a university locally, and I had my private practice as a part-time job, so I was doing 70 hours. And listening to you, Dan, I was like, I'm just going into my own private practice. I'm done working for other people. I'm done crushing myself. This isn't sustainable with the kids. Did that, and about 6 months later, when things at the business were at a predictable level and I felt like I could start to focus elsewhere, talked to you. I sent you a message on Instagram, like, can I do this with a barbell, 260 pounds bumper plates, and 2 40-pound dumbbells? And you're like, absolutely. And that was just kind of history for me, and just kind of built my equipment up over the last year. I've loved it. I did CrossFit from 2015 to 2018, so I had a really nice baseline for the movements. I had a great coach for that. but I think the programming for that was a bit too heavy too consistently. And I'll look at my body composition right now compared to in my early 30s when I was 3 years into CrossFit. And so I'm like 15 months into your programming and I blow myself out of the water. I mean, I'm still kind of a beanpole, but in terms of my body composition, I'm looking way better than I was then. I feel way better. It's been going great. I've really enjoyed it. I enjoy the phases. And I think one of my favorite parts about what you do is explaining what we're doing and why and how that fits into the year-long plan. I had a lot of fears coming into weight training again that I wasn't going to be able to draw my bow properly, hold steady because I was getting overworked like I was in CrossFit. Like my muscles were just constantly fatigued outside of the programming. But I think this follows really nicely. And last year, like I just felt myself peaking end of August, which is where I think you wanted everyone peaking. Granted, my season didn't start till October 1, but October 1 hit and I was just ready to go and had the best season I've had mentally, in terms of I got the biggest buck I've ever gotten. Like it was just a really solid year and I felt great the entire season, having long sits out in the field and having to move. I hunted a lot of public land for the first time. I get in pretty deep and there's a guy sitting there. I had no problem because I'm like, I can move quick. Like I'm mobile, I'm in shape. And so it didn't affect me mentally either. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's just go find another spot. And I'd have success with that. So
Love it. All right, Derek, let's hear about your journey.
I started ElkShape in like December, end of December. That's when I started getting into it. Prior to that, like I said, I really got into like just lifting as much weight as possible. Like the Chris Bumstead program is what I was running, just trying to get huge because I'm young and that's what we just do, you know? But like in high school, played basketball, ran track. So I was always in shape. We did pretty much a lot of the workouts that we're doing now here in ElkShape. Had hip surgery when I was 18. And so hip lifting, like super heavy and all that like weightlifting stuff was just like wrecking my hips and my joints too. And so as I switched, like I'm 23 years old and I got freaking joint problems, but I'm like, this workout program's helped like significantly. Got the crossover symmetry, been implementing that into all of my warm-up routines as well. Like game changer. Like,
Yep.
My wife has low back, hip pain. We do that too. And like, it's clearing it up. So, but yeah, I love ElkShape. Like I've gotten my brother-in-laws to get it as well, just because I'm like, dude, you want to be in shape, you want to lift heavy weight and do like functional exercises that help you in life. Like this is legit. This is what is going to get you there. So it's kind of brought me back to my high school days, got me in shape. I can outrun the boys on the basketball court again, and super excited. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, this year when I was shed hunting, I was able to keep up with my buddies, whereas last year prior I couldn't. And so it's just like motivation wise, mentally keeps myself in the game too. So it's been awesome. No complaints about it. I also love that I've had a few questions, but I've messaged Josh on the app, and within 30 minutes to 2 hours, he's responded with like a really sophisticated answer, and it's simple. So that aspect's awesome too.
Thank God we got Josh, and you guys will probably never see him. He's very low key. He's an elk killer with a bow, but he's so chill. But he's a nerd. He's a computer nerd, and he like this program. He's the lifeblood. So yeah, mad props to him and his customer service. All right, Logan, and then Joel.
And I don't want to cut you off, but Derek, I want to say that's awesome at 22 for you to realize that you want that mobility, dude. I wish I would have known that at your age. Because again, going in there and just blowing your body up, dude, you're going to be good. So
that's what I'm going for.
Yep.
No, well said. I totally agree. All right, Logan.
Yeah, joints are for real, man. Like that's been one of my biggest issues is joints. In my early 30s, I'm at that phase in life where I'm like transitioning from everything's fine all the time to everything's not fine all the time anymore. So joints are definitely an issue. Yeah, so I've been pretty active my whole life. Like I said, I spent a lot of time out west growing up. So hiking and, walking up mountains and doing all that stuff was a big deal for me. And I was raised pretty fit. But for the past, probably since like 2018, I've just been doing cut bulk cycles, purely vanity stuff, really for no purpose at all, just general fitness, trying to not eat like crap and let myself go. And my brother and I we've been talking like elk for like the past couple of years. Elk this year, and then finally I got the okay from my wife this year, and it was like, let's go. And so I was like, everything has to change. Like everything that I've been doing, it's not for a purpose. It's not purpose driven. We have to do something different. And I was like, that ElkShape guy, we've been seeing him on YouTube, watching him for years. I think he has like a fitness program. Do you want to do that? And my brother was like, yeah, let's do it. So we started doing ElkShape in like January. And I started doing it at my gym that I've been going to for years, which is basically a lunkhead gym. And people, those type of guys, for whatever reason, man, they don't like CrossFitters. And so I actually switched gyms to support this. I went to more of a CrossFit oriented gym, which was really awesome because it put me into a secondary community of people that I was able to work with that helped me with this, because CrossFit's like, it was new to me. It's new territory. And the guy that runs the gym is like, he used to do like mountain marathons and stuff. So he's really familiar with trying to keep endurance up in this type of environment. So he's been a godsend for, information for how to sustain endurance and how to acclimate to, the conditions of that. But yeah, I've been hitting it hard pretty much 5 days a week. And I feel so much better. Just all around mobility, I notice it in every aspect of my life, like in the gym, but then also out of the gym is where you really see it, like just playing with my kids. Like I notice, like, I'm not tired. I have a 4-year-old, an 8-year-old, and an 11-year-old. And like, I got them out there this morning. I took my kids, we ran a 5K this morning. Just, they were on the bikes, but like, I was just like, let's go run around the lake. That's something that we would have never done before. But like, I just feel good. I'm fired up. Like, let's get after it, and trying to incorporate that in my kids. I think it's cool because I feel better, but it's exposing itself in all these other aspects of life that I didn't really see coming. Just overall functional fitness is it's where it's at. Like, honestly, I think I could see myself doing this style of exercise forever. I love it. And it's just the constantly changing variations. I don't get bored, and getting bored is a huge problem in the gym. It makes you not want to go. So just constantly, every day, something different, something new. Every few minutes you're doing something different. Just makes you want to get after it. So yeah, I don't really have a lot of complaints. It took me a while to realize that it kind of went in cycles. Like, there was like a pattern. You had to find there was order in the chaos. You just had to find it and interpret it. And after doing it for a few months, now that I know that, I like, it's less of a punch in the mouth. And so that, that's great. I love the community. For me, the community is big time. I just love the ability to go on, and like, I've seen a couple names in here that I've seen on the boards that you can talk to. And like, I've reached, I think, I've said like, I can't do this because I have ulterior pelvic tilt. And so that causes me a lot of lower back issues. And so I'm like, what can I do instead? And then like 5 guys are like, try this. I think, Dan, you recommended reverse hyper. And that was something where I was like, never did that before. Don't even know what that is. Let me Google it. Okay. I do it every day now, whereas before I didn't have that. So, and that helps a lot. Like, I just feel so much better. So yeah, it's awesome.
Love it. Last one, Joel.
So I've always been sort of an athlete, basketball, soccer, this and that. I didn't really start doing strength training probably till like mid to late 20s. So give or take 18 years, I've been just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what would stick. I think I started with this like menshealth.com strength training program that was pretty basic. And I've sort of weaved in and out of just barbell stuff in the garage. And at one point went into like mobility and kettlebells and functional strength and this and that. 2019 was I've never up until I started ElkShape, I've never really done any CrossFit stuff. No Olympic lifting, no CrossFit stuff of any kind. My first elk hunt in 2019, I basically just fell back to, I think I hiked in the 2 or 3 months leading up to my hunt. I think I hiked 850 some odd miles in like 60 days. So I was averaging like 14 to 16 miles a day with a pack on. And I found that I still went up into the mountains and got my ass kicked. The one thing that I have going for me is that I won't quit. So even when it's like miserable, I'm just going to keep getting after it. So the next year I tried high intensity interval training. Same exact experience. It changed absolutely nothing in the mountains. It's just like it's going to suck for a few days and then, get acclimated and just hike 8 to 10 miles looking for some elk the whole time. Then I had my first kid and it went off a cliff. I mean, my fitness stuff has gone off a cliff since then, with varying degrees of like, oh, I'm going to get back into it, whatever. But ultimately it's weird. I'm on this like inverse trajectory of fitness, as my elk hunting gets, my fitness has gotten worse. I've still punched some tags. But like as I've gone in the elk hunting journey, my fitness has gone off a cliff, and it's one excuse after another. But kids, this, that, whatever, and I think that I don't know where I saw it on Instagram. I don't know how I caught the December Chub Challenge, but that is where I became familiar with ElkShape, and so I went through that whole thing, which was a godsend. For just staying consistent with doing some physical activities, and shooting the bow. And then it was probably like mid to late February that I actually was like, you know what, I'm just going to sign up for ElkShape. And because when I looked through the description and everything, it's like, this is what I want to do. I'm thinking about elk hunting every single day of the year until I get to the mountains. And then as soon as I leave the mountains, I'm starting the clock on next year when I go to the mountains. Because I get a week and a half or so every year. And it's what I'm focused on 110% every day of the year. And I love it. It's been great. Every workout has been great. I have noticed, I mean, just in like 2.5 months, I'm pulling my bow back easier. My poundage is up. I feel better. I'm running around in the street with my kids and I'm not getting winded. I mean, it's just like across the board. I can't say enough good things about how the programming has affected me, except every time I wake up and I start the workout and the warm up has whatever that one is where you're in the half squat and you're bouncing your feet back and forth. And then you're dropping in and holding the 10-second squat. I'm just cursing Dan Staton every time I get into that.
Yeah, those are white
that
outs.
10-second hold. Yes.
Yeah.
God bless.
They're undefeated. Joel, I feel your fire. I think everyone can feel your fire, man. Like, you only get 10 days. You want to get every drop. You want to get all the juice out of it. This is why I like doing this. I'm talking to a whole bunch of guys here that we have the same passion. So let me blab for a second, and then I'm going to leave it up to you guys to freestyle it. Hopefully we don't interrupt each other too bad. But here's my dilemma. Okay, so historically, I just write this program up for me, not for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just like, this is what I'm going to do. I know this works. This is going to get me ready for September. I'm going to be limitless in the mountains. Fitness will be my ally. It'll be an asset. There'll never be a second guessing of can I or should I. It's like quick decision making kills elk. The end. My dilemma, fellas, is that I want you injury resistant. I want you doing the crossover symmetry protocols for the shoulder and the hip. I want you guys doing tons of mobility, even though we don't program it. We are assuming that you're doing the mobility. I do want you to have the endurance to hike 16 miles a day with a backpack on until you've accumulated 850 miles, but I do not want you to have other things suffer because of that strength. So basically, as your coach writing your programs, I want you to have it all. I'm greedy. I really believe, I wouldn't say CrossFit because we do some CrossFit, but I'm way not doing what I used to do when I competed at CrossFit. I was probably 15 pounds heavier, a hell of a lot stronger. Doing the programming that you guys have been doing, I have stayed really lean and still feel pretty strong and kind of like ready to just, dude, I'm ready to bark up that mountain. But I want you guys, I wrote this down, mentally, first and foremost, I want our workouts to suck. I do. I want them to have a degree of this sucks. Go on the community board, find out that, oh yeah, see, everybody else agrees. This sucked. This was hard. This was daunting. I want that. Intervals and lactate threshold training. Quite honestly, it can and will work for you, but I'm trying to build your metabolic engine from the start of December. That's our start of the year, by the way, is December 1, when we start our density phase and we start slowly. I want you to have the biggest engine possible to where you can do all of those energy systems, the really fast, explosive, not much oxygen, if any at all. The mid-range explosive, aggressive, 30 seconds to 2-minute effort energy system. And then the long, slow distance oxidative. I want you to have it all. I want you to have general physical preparedness. I do not want you to have a specialty. The mountains punish the specialists, that I believe. I do want you guys to have the speed, the power. I mean, if you're following the program, we just did 10 sets of a 200-meter run. And I mean, those were all out. They were for me. I'm sure they were for you. And they suck, man. How many 40-year-olds even, there's so many 40-year-olds that will never sprint again in their life. Yet here we are asking you to do that because motion is lotion. So here's the final, I told you I was going to talk for a little bit. The template you've been following, and this is the feedback I'm asking for. Mondays, we built you up for Murph. We could talk about Murph if you wanted to. It's a workout with a weight vest. Tuesdays has just been an MFer. Just a hard strength and conditioning, kick your teeth in. Wednesdays has been more of a, hey, rest or do this flush cardio. Although I found Wednesdays to be pretty challenging. Thursdays, way more of a strength vibe. We did the bands this week. I thought that was I did all that on Thursday. I thought it was awesome to do the benching, the rowing, the pressing, all bands, just a different stimulus and the lower reps. Fridays, we've been making you put on a rucksack, bro, like 40-pound rucksack and do not just hiking, but do all these movements. And then Saturdays have been like kind of a little catch your breath, do some hypertrophy, do some accessory work. So we're doing this until the end of June. My wife hates this phase, but she's not an elk hunter. She likes more variety and she likes more of Tuesdays. If you guys know about Tuesdays, where it's just hardest shit ever. What's the vibe been? I'll leave it up to you guys to chat about it, but we're wrapping up. We have one more month of this, and then I'm trying to decipher where to go from there. And to be honest with you, I have not written July's yet. Or I haven't finalized July's. I want your feedback. Whoever wants to take it, go ahead.
I'll start first, I guess, since, been going first. I will say Monday, I've never done a Murph before, and that sucked. And then Tuesday, having that workout right after the Murph, I mean, I was like, WTF, like he's trying to murder us. You know what I mean? Like, and my buddy that I work out with, he didn't do the Murph, but he was like, you just did all of that yesterday, and then now we're doing this today. And I was like, I'm hurting so bad. You don't even know. But yeah, just to get through everything, I mean, kind of what Logan was alluding to is the joint stuff, right? Like that's big for me, especially with all the motocross injuries, because that was my background, right? It was just motocross, from 5 to 22. So just beat the hell out of my body, shoulders, knees, everything's bad. I do in the mornings when we're at the gym. I mean, I do 20 minutes of just stretching. I have to. I mean, I have to loosen my back up because, again, I've got 9 vertebrae fused together. So I've got to get that thing loose, and I've got to get my hips loose. So I kind of use that as my warm up, and then, crossover symmetry and stuff like that. But I do like what we're doing. I mean, I think as far as the energy system developments and everything that we've been doing has been working. Like you said, you Dan, you're not real sure what you're going to program in July, I believe. Whatever you got. I mean, of like Joel said, he's like, I don't quit. I don't quit either. I mean, I'll damn near hurt myself before I stop. So, but
the Murph
Go
was
for it.
legit this year because I've never done it with a vest on, so I've always just kind of just did it. And this was the first year where I was like I did that Him and Hall thing, like, oh, this already sucks. I did it with like 30 other dudes at my gym. That's another cool thing. I've never been at a gym where everyone was like, we're doing Murph this year. You doing the Murph? I was like, yep. And like 2 guys wore vests, and I was like, none of these guys are wearing vests. So I'm gonna be the odd one out. I was like, what are you doing, man? Like, who cares what anybody else is doing? Throw the vest on. And I did the Murph with the vest on. It's the first time I've ever done it with the vest on before. So, I think that's a testament to it. But yeah, I think this is legit, and I'm excited to see where it goes, and I'm excited to see how it carries on into training for this endeavor, because I've never done like purpose built workouts before, like with an end goal other than just general fitness. So, I mean, just after a few months of seeing how far I've come just in like 4 or 5 months of using this every day, like using it through the summer and knowing that we're going to gear it up for the season to do what we love. I'm stoked, man. I can't wait to see what's coming.
I have a love-hate relationship with like explosive workouts, but I feel like they're super necessary, especially getting into the hunting season, like those explosive, whether it's deadlifts, clean, stuff like that. Those have helped a ton for me personally. And I hope to see more of those like explosive workouts come July, and working up at those, as well as endurance. Obviously, like there's not a workout that we do that at the end of it, I'm not like, that freaking sucked and it wrecked me. But that's the whole goal, right? But doing the endurance, whether it's the sprints, the running, the box jumps, I hate them, but I love them at the same time, because it's like an explosive workout that helps me to push. And that's like a big thing up on the mountain, is that like I'm climbing fast, climbing hard, and those explosive workouts have always helped me too. So
I had a question for John. You're an OG. Last summer, I made sure I didn't want athletes to feel like I was shortchanging them. But if I'm being truthful, I don't backpack train, hardly at all. We did the ruck intervals, like we did the heavy ruck, and it was like, I don't want you to go fast. I just want you to have this 75-pound pack on your back for a mile. Then we had the light pack, I think it was like 20, and we really had you like hump it. And then we had like your game day pack around 40, 45, and we did kind of that mid-range. I was thinking about sprinkling that in again, but what's your feedback on that? And this is so, guys, thank you so much. This is so helpful for me to hear from you what's working, what's not. So yeah, John, what was your thoughts on that last year?
I loved it. But here's the thing I think is important about it, and you emphasized this last year, is hitting the hills with it. So I had access to some spots close to me where I could almost interval it, where it's like a long uphill and then a quick downhill, because I got the weight on my back, and then a long uphill again. So I think if, like, for some of the guys in Texas, if I was going to be doing that, I might add more weight and just push it harder. But I like that. I want to say you were doing it on Fridays, but I can't completely recall it. It was also a multitask for me, because I could get my dog, I have a border collie that's young, I could get her exercised at 5:30 in the morning, and I didn't have to worry about it for the rest of the day. So I could focus on family, kids, work, all that stuff. I've been waiting for you to sprinkle it in here, because I know we've been putting the packs on. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that again. I think in terms of your question surrounding like variety versus like consistency in the workouts, for me personally, I like a little bit of both. So like this last week, I can't remember if it's Thursdays or Fridays workout. Instead of doing, it's the one with the 40-pound pack on, and we're doing the box over burpees and everything, which I definitely swear at you when I'm doing those. You took it from being 2-minute sections for 3 rounds, I think, for each of the movements, to 5-minute sections for each. And I just like changing that up a little bit. So it was the same consistent movements we've been doing on those days for the last month, but it was with a different time interval. And I think that kind of challenged me mentally a little differently. And the fatigue set in a little differently, especially again with those burpees with 40 pounds on my back. So I like that, where perhaps it's a similar thing that I'm aware of and I've been testing my body with week to week, but there's a slight variation in how we're approaching it. If that makes sense, what I'm trying to say.
No, I do not like repeating workouts at all. Like, unless it's been a couple years or a year and I'm like doing that, which is a good segue into for 2025, which will start December 1st this year for us. I was definitely thinking more of one themed test per month that you did on the first of the month. And then you retested it at the end of the month. And that we did that quite a bit with rowing intervals. And I mean, the ESD, for those listening, energy system development, a lot of our souls are left in the gym doing the energy system development when we're on an assault bike. How many of you have an assault? Who does not have an assault bike? Logan, I know what you're asking for your birthday or Christmas. Get a fan bike. I don't care what brand, but I want you to have that in your life and taste blood in your lungs. It's really cool. So more testing, like 1 month type test, like beginning of the month, end of the month, and we'll just figure out how to chip away at that. But no, these are good ideas. This is where I wanted to end the conversation, fellas, and I want to lean in on your wisdom. You have some wisdom, even you, young Derek. I hurt a lot all the time. Not like, I don't get sore too much, believe it or not. Like maybe if we do a lot of wall balls or, I mean, every day's leg day at ElkShape Training. So my legs are just used to being sore. But my joints do get achy from time to time, and everyone's a little bit different. And so I follow this program called GoWOD, and it's a mobility app where I will actually, and I don't want you guys to have to go get another app, but if you follow that program, like I put in a lot of times what we're doing for the workout, and it will spit me out kind of a specific warm up. And then, I'll do a specific cool down to it and things like that. And I've done it for so long that I kind of already know what they would say before they said it, type of a vibe. The ability to recover, me 42 versus Derek 23, is not fair. And so for me, I get 8 hours of sleep almost every night, 7 to 8, somewhere in there, but it's 7's minimum, but 8's the goal. I'm not perfect. The nutrition for me is like, I've tracked my macros. I hit my protein requirement. I do eat a lot of fruits and vegetables throughout the day. My hydration's on. And so there's no excuses there. And I take a buttload of Wilderness Athlete supplements. As you can imagine, I've had my blood work done recently. I've looked into all this stuff. But straight up, some days your boy just takes a day off. Like literally, I'm not working out today. It's scheduled, but I'm not doing it because tomorrow when I come back, I'm going to FS up. I'm going to be ready to go again. So I just kind of want to bounce around with you guys. Like maybe let's do our original order. Give us a grade on how you have been eating as it pertains to your goals. How have you been pursuing recovery as it pertains to your goal? Maybe tell us something you're doing really well. Maybe tell us something that you could do better. Jared, lead us off.
My diet here has been just eating everything. Literally, I was trying to get to 200. I'm at 199. I'm like, all right, that's good. Let's start cutting down. So I've actually incorporated, I'm trying to get 10,000 steps a day. Right. As far as the food, a lot of fruit. Yeah, I do track macros. I'm trying to get 200 grams protein a day. Could you imagine 200 pounds of protein? Anyway, 310 grams carbs and then like 60 grams fat. Anyway, that seems to, the fuel, I feel good. I had to get off the energy drinks, right? Like I was having a Celsius, having a coffee and then a Celsius, got off that. I've seen my energy really level out to where I'm good. I'm not having that crash later on. I found, I guess, when we were doing more of the strength, Dan, like you were saying, I mean, tons of injuries. The elbows were hurting, the knees were hurting, ankles were kind of hurting. And I've seen transitioning into the new phase that we're in, I'm really not as sore, and I'm getting a gallon of water plus a day. Sleep is not there. Two kids, I've got one that's 3 and one that's 9. So by the time we get, our little Tasmanian devils in bed, we're getting in bed at 10:30, and then I'm up, clock goes off at 3:55 so I can be at the gym at 4:30. So yeah, a little soreness, but and Dan, like kind of like you, like if on a Wednesday, middle of the week, if I'm feeling it in my knees and my back, I'm like, today is yoga, right? We're gonna put some elasticity in the knees and in the back and in the hips, and that's a big thing for me is hip mobility. I feel like almost everything hinges off the hips, and if your hips are tight, everything else is tight. A lot of movement in the new progressions in the workout that I think have really helped that, but I probably could get better to cool down. But yeah, Dan, I'd also, I don't know, an email or something, that goes out and say, hey, this is what my cool down looks like. This is what I'm doing for recovery, right? I don't feel there's a lot of information out there on recovery, but we're all different. But if we are experiencing the same things, if something's working, God, I would totally be open to hear what's working, right? So,
well, I made a note. I think we'll probably try to build within the app like a couple different cool down protocols, a couple of I need to take a day off. Like I don't know what we're gonna call it, but it'll be something kind of funny. White flag. I'm waving the white flag today. And then you just go do this, and then you know what? You still feel good about yourself because you still did something that's making you better. And a lot of that physiology and mentality is just because we know we're working towards something and we did something. So that's important. Who else? Let's go. Not Logan. Let's go Austin.
I'm obviously still pretty fresh and new to all this, the nutrition, but just eating consistent, not getting into the junky side of things, keeping the drinking down has been key. Doing the BCAAs and the creatine after my workouts, I definitely noticed my recovery seemed to be, I recovered faster throughout the day or throughout the week. And then, I don't know, all the ice bath stuff, all that kind of stuff, I've dabbled into it and haven't found a good routine. But I think as soon as I start being consistent with whatever we're doing, it's been helpful. So just keep grinding on that stuff.
Awesome. John?
Big help for me was the webinar you and Alicia did last February on nutrition. I think that really helped me. I think, honestly, that's been one of the most important parts for me is for the first time actually dialing in my nutrition. So like if I were to give a grade, like for the last year, I've been pretty consistent. Wouldn't give myself an A+, but maybe like an A. Maybe around the holidays it dips down to like a B+, but I try to stay really disciplined. Big thing I noticed, like I leaned out really quick last year, and I noticed I started getting little nagging injuries on like weird stuff. And as I was tracking everything, it seemed like as I brought in more healthy fats and hit my fat goals a little better, and maybe carried just a touch more weight, that I wasn't as injury prone. And the other thing that helped was the video you did with Mountain Physio. Like every now and again, I'd get some nagging shoulder stuff in my left shoulder, and just those the two band movements that he was demonstrating with you. Those are the second thing I do every morning in my warm up, and I've had 0 shoulder injuries since. That's been really helpful. But I think just kind of not letting myself lean out too much has been really helpful injury-wise and feeling like I'm good recovery-wise. Again, my job's really sedentary, so I do a hard workout, and then I get my kids to daycare and school, and then I sit from like 9 o'clock to about 4 o'clock for the day. And then I'll walk my dog a couple miles in the evening, which is helpful. And then you did a video on, I think, ElkShape Training for YouTube on your recovery day, and you talked about running and just doing some light running. And I got a curved treadmill. I really like running on curved treadmills. They feel really low impact.
Which one did you get, man?
I actually sourced my own from China. A lot of people are going to be mad at me for saying China, but with 2 kids in daycare, I can't drop 3 to 5K on a curved treadmill. I just couldn't do it. So I sourced one from China for about $1,000. That's been really nice for just getting some running in, and it feels very low impact on the body. And sometimes when we've had a rough workout, like when you kill me on the rower or on the assault bike, I'll spend 10 minutes just walking before I head back into the house and start my day, just to like kind of get my body moving. But when I'm feeling stiff or when I'm hurting, that seems to flush a lot of things out for me. It's just like a short, low impact zone 2 run. I feel really good after that. I don't feel as stiff. I don't feel as much pain. So that's kind of been what I've been doing. And when I am hurting, like after Murph, I was hurting. That was my first Murph. I did it weighted. I wanted to get under 50 minutes. That last mile crushed me. Like anyone in my neighborhood could have heard me 2 streets over breathing like I was. The next day I went in and it was a rough workout, but I slowed myself down. I just said, I got to slow down, lower the weights a little bit, and just get my body moving to help kind of flush out some of the pain I'm feeling. So I've really tried to let go of my ego as I've gotten older, and listen to my body. And that seems to help too. When I'm hurting, I just kind of take it easy, take it slower.
Well said. Young Derek.
All right. Yeah, those curved treadmills, they're legit. I actually just go to my Vasa. It's like 2 minutes down the road, which kind of makes the workouts a little difficult because I'm like going all over the place. But at the same time, it's like, whatever, But those curved treadmills are awesome. As far as eating, I'll be honest, I eat like crap. Like my mother-in-law makes the best homemade bread. And you put like a loaf of white bread in front of me and it's like, I'll eat the whole freaking thing. But then it just wrecks me the next day. So I'm literally C-D in that category, need to be better. I've got some deer meat unthawing for tomorrow's lunch for work, so we try every now and then, but my metabolism is still pretty fast, but I need to get on top of that. But overall, definitely need to get better at eating. Sleep to me is like a huge, you kind of touched on it, Dan. I make sure I get 8 hours of sleep. I'm 23. My wife and I should probably go out and hang out with friends late, but we're in bed at 9 o'clock and we're up at 5 o'clock going to the gym. So I'm not a night owl. I hate it. We everyone in the house, we're in bed at 8:30, asleep by 9. So call us lame, but my body feels good. So, and then ice baths. I was doing ice baths in the winter, especially, and it's recovery wise, wasn't sore, was feeling great. It's kind of hard now in the sun because I was using a water trough, but I don't know, just buy bags of ice, I guess, because those felt really, really good. But overall, sleep, huge for me, especially, I don't know, just being young, keeping the body young. So
yeah, dude, I'm with you on the winter. I'm really good at taking ice baths, hop in the river all the time, but it's challenging this time of year. I'm probably gonna buy something, honestly, like an ice barrel, something like blue collar cheap. I ain't gonna jump in what Cam Haynes has. I went into his $15,000 ice bath machine that moves water the whole time around you. No, that's elk hunting money. I'm not gonna do that. But for you to go to bed, good on you and your wife. I just need you to step your game up, dude. I always lean into the young guns. Man, you're eating like a fourth grader. You're a grown ass man. Go downstairs and cook all your deer meat, all your deer burgers, make all your chicken breasts, cook up your rice, steam your veggies, bake your veggies. You're going to be a beast if you step up your nutrition. Look out, man. And I'm excited for you because you already got the sleeping part down and not being a night owl. I think that's cool as hell, just so you know. I think all of us do. We were yeah, that's awesome, kid. But step up your nutrition, man. The end. So, Logan.
First off, screw you and your fast metabolism. Yeah. My brother / workout partner / hunting partner is 22. And so this is his recovery and just his ability to just get after it, just ceaselessly day after day, no matter, it's insane. I'm so jealous. I think my nutrition's probably a solid B+. I would say I lean in the direction of weekend warrior. I eat so clean during the week, and my wife makes really good home cooked meals, and my wife and I are really into, I hunt or grow the vast majority of everything that I consume. So it's deer meat for lunch, or hopefully elk this year, and we got the garden going, and I have a flock of chickens, and so I'm eating super clean. But it's just that Friday night pizza after a hard week that's the thing that gets me. It's just too easy to just order pizza. So those little things are what get me. But for the most part, I'm good. The amount of times because I food prep very consistently, even though I don't want to, and the amount of times where it's Sunday night, I did it right before I joined this podcast, I food prepped. And the amount of times where I don't want to do it. And then I hear Dan Staten, from the 5,000 times that I've heard him go, get off your phone and go food prep, I hear you in my mind. And I go, put the phone down, go food prep, because you're going to regret it tomorrow if you don't. 100%. It's the biggest piece of advice that I can give to anyone is food prep. But then, as far as recovery, with my pelvis issues, I found out that walking on the treadmill after I work out is it really helps a lot, just to walk it down and to just not go from high intensity to just hit the showers. Everything just seizes right back up. And so that's a big deal for me, is walking. And then on the days that I have off, where I'm not working out, I'm not going to the gym, I always try and get that walk in. I have a state land right across the street from my house, and it's just miles and miles of trails. So I'll just go hit the trails, like lace up the Solomons and just go walk on the trails. It's really good for my back. I do OMT therapy for my back, and that's like the number one thing that he recommends is walking on uneven ground, and doing that is big time for my back. But yeah, I think doing cool down stuff, I feel like that would be super beneficial, because I think that's an area where a lot of guys, especially when we're under time constraints, cool down is definitely just, I don't have time. I have to get to work or whatever. So, having a cool down that's kind of built in, that we can reference, I think that would definitely be highly beneficial. So yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Last but not least, Joel from Texas.
Food to D plus. It's probably my weakest link in any of my preparation for hunting or just being healthy in general. There was a period of my life where I every Sunday hit the grocery store in the morning, meal prep, line everything out, and children has been the biggest excuse that I've used to not get back onto that. And it's the number one problem I have with being the best version of myself in terms of like health, wellness, and just feeling good. And it's not even, I eat a lot of wild game. I don't track anything. I don't track how much protein I've had. I don't track carbs, nothing. I don't track anything. I wake up in the morning, I hit my bulletproof coffee. I'll have a protein shake for lunch typically, and then something light later in the afternoon. And then it's like I get home and it's dinner time, and all of a sudden it's always some pasta or some bread or I feel this calling to the freezer to get an ice cream sandwich or some other dumb, sugary thing like before I go to sleep, which I know, is also not maximizing the quality of the sleep either when I'm eating some junk. But then I wake up at 5:30. No matter what time I went to bed, I'm waking up at 5:30. I'm working out. 7 o'clock, I'm getting in the shower and going to work. So if there's room in there for a cool down, it gets done. Shoulder mobility is the number one thing for me, probably. I posted in the message board a few weeks ago about the overhead squats. It's like I just didn't have it. I had this weird knot just building in my back every time I had that barbell up over my head, and I was trying to get down to the bottom of that squat. And some people threw out some YouTube videos and this and that. I mean, I'm a big fan of Kelly Starrett and the stuff that he does in terms of just like mobility, movement, before or after, specifically that couch stretch. I don't know if he came up with that or it's probably somebody else, but I saw him do it. And every time I do some squats, I do a couch stretch after. And on the days that I don't know what the protocol is called, but I will do just a light run on the day. If I wake up and it's like, I don't have it for overhead squats and like cleans and jerks and all this stuff today, I will do a previous coach I had gave me this protocol where you take 180, subtract your age from it, and then that's your target heart rate average for your run. And it leaves me when I do that, I'll do it for time instead of distance or speed, and it always leaves me like relaxed. If I'm doing it over a long period of time, it's also building endurance. But with ElkShape, I'm not doing these like long 40, 50, 60, 75-minute runs anymore. But on the days when I wake up and I'm not feeling great,
I'll just put the running shoes on and hit the road.
Well, guys, I appreciate you all taking time out of your Sunday evening, from the bottom of my heart. Like, it means a lot. And for you overhead squat guys, ain't no shame in a broomstick, for real. I don't care about a bar. I want you to fight for mobility. And K-Star, Kelly Starrett, I've done some seminars with him. Phenomenal. You have all his books, Supple Leopard, and he's a great resource. But we all have to be our best advocate for fighting for mobility as we get older, fighting for time to scroll less, cook more. I mean, that should be a t-shirt. Scroll less, cook more. Cook the foods you need that provide you the materials necessary to repair. Sounds like we're all pretty good at kicking each other's ass. Like, we're disciplined, we're diligent, we're putting in the work. Are we putting in the food to help us recover faster so we can do more work? If you guys listening could tell, this group's contagious. They're awesome. They're motivated. And there's some killers. We didn't really talk about elk hunting on the ElkShape podcast, but we talked nothing but about elk hunting, because to be an elk hunter, you must be an athlete, an elk hiker, and you must put the work in. You must separate yourself. So I guess we should say separation's in the preparation, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.